Welcome into another edition of the Gator Nation Football Podcast Film Review. I'm your host, James DiVirgilio, and on this video, we'll be taking a look at Florida's defense versus Kentucky. Obviously, this game, very disappointing for Coach Ham's defense. Florida had come in with the number one rushing defense via success rate in the country. They exited this game giving up a remarkable 329 yards on the ground, 280 of which were to Ray Davis. Kentucky was 1 for 8 on third downs and only had 69 passing yards. They did, of course, miss several opportunities via dropped passes. Overall, a really ugly look for Florida's defense, and again, for me, given what we've seen on film, quite a shocking outlier. As always, I'll walk you through what went wrong for Florida, whether or not we should be concerned that these issues are systemic or if they're just a one-time thing, and then any other things that show up on film for Florida's ugly day on defense in Lexington. As always, if you like this content, sub to this channel, follow us on social media, check out our merch, consider dropping us a dono to support our efforts to bring you more of this type of content throughout the season, and check out our podcast where each and every Monday we give you in-depth analysis on the Florida Gators. All right, let's start with play one in this football game. And right away, I've seen a lot of stuff already on the internet and social media that says that Florida was not loading the box. Well, that is definitely not true. As you're going to see, and I'm going to count the numbers for every play we look at, Florida was, in fact, loading the box. We're going to start right here with 7 right out of the gate. Now, Kentucky's really loading the box, making a symmetrical look here. 3 here, opposite the center, so they can go either way, and running 12 personnel, right? Something we saw Utah do to Florida last year. But Florida here is perfectly fine, especially given what they've done this season versus the run, to expect they could handle this type of formation from Kentucky with 7 in the box. And in fact, they do. Nunnery here is going to spill this play by crashing down. Let's blow this play up in here. Let's take out the tight end or H-back coming across, blow all this stuff up, make this run get bounced to the outside, right? This is called a spill. We're going to spill this play to the outside where you have your play side linebacker. In this case, Scooby Williams, who has played very well for Florida this season, did not play well in this game, is going to be free to tackle him one-on-one. That's exactly what you see. In fact, as we've seen Florida do really throughout this season, Scooby typically was making this tackle, and if he did, that's a loss of 2 yards. On this particular play, Scooby's going to miss this tackle on Ray Davis, who rushed again for 280 yards versus Florida, 122 last year when he was on Vanderbilt's team, so 400 rushing yards in 2 games, is going to simply make Scooby miss without even making a move. So right now for play 1, is this on Coach Ham or is this on execution by the players? This particular play, execution by the players. Good play call, good design, should be a loss of 2 yards to start the game. Instead, Ray makes a guy miss, and then something we've seen Florida have some issues with. A few of the players on Florida's defense are not necessarily great at tackling. Florida's safeties struggle to tackle, and Kimber, a guy who's played very well at corner, has not been a great tackler in general. And here we see Ray Davis beat him to the outside. He's in a tough spot here, and then that goes for a first down. That is essentially a 12-yard difference from where the first contact was made to where this play went. Kentucky had a 46% contact rate at the line of scrimmage entering this game, and obviously, again, quite bewildering the success they had. But early on, we can see that a missed tackle leads to the first big gain. Florida, again, going to try to create a spill situation. We're going to block the inside zone up very nicely here. In fact, take a look at Florida's defensive tackles. We're going to win. We're going to win this battle right up front. Line of scrimmage is held by Florida. You see Princely pushing everything into the inside here. That's a spill play where our corner is coming in to clean up and make this tackle if we get a bounce to the outside, which is exactly what we get here. Let's pause it right now. Good penetration here. Rolling over here in case it spills this way, covering the spill this way. Play is totally accounted for. Once again, behind the line of scrimmage, this play is dead on arrival. Here's Kimber. Kimber, all he has to do is make the tackle now where Ray Davis has basically bottled himself up. Come in here and be a willing tackler, stop this play for yet another loss. Instead, Kimber comes in and really, that is not a tackle attempt. Putting your head down and sort of flanning it where the running back might end up is not a wrap tackle. And now, instead of being down here, Kimber's off to the races because the player that's assigned to make this tackle has missed, right? Again, defense, 11 guys working as one. We've talked about that on previous film reviews. You can't expect against a team that's competent to just have a backup for a backup for a backup, right? You run the exact right play call. You get your free defender coming off the edge, a running back who's not looking at him. His head is down. He's staring at the ground. You have got to make this tackle. This tackle is not made. And now again, another play that should be a loss goes for this. Got late action blocking here. Good work by Kentucky's receivers to do this. Now we're one-on-one versus a freshman safety in Castell. Castell, we've seen before, has not been great at tackling. A really promising player. Very, very good in coverage. Excellent at understanding what to do pre-snap and post-snap, especially for a freshman. Coming downhill, one-on-one, being a tackler, not his forte, at least not yet, especially in these situations. This is tough for any safety, by the way. So not picking up on Castell, especially versus Ray Davis, who has a one-cut ability. There's the cut. We're going to make him miss. And now we're going to make the tackle with Scooby way down the field, right? We're on the 40-yard line. This play started on the 22-yard line. That's plus 18 yards when we should have once again had, let's call this 0 or -1. So we should have -3 on the first two plays of the game. And instead, we've got about 40 yards gained by Kentucky. -3, instead we have 40. So on film review, our big thing is, are the coaches putting the players in position to succeed? On these first two plays, yes. Failed execution and missed tackles, play design, solid. 2nd and 6, Kentucky does a nice job here sniffing out the nickel pressure from Jaden Hill. We've seen Florida switch this before in the past. We see the offense make an adjustment. Florida's defense will make an adjustment under Coach Armstrong. In this case, Florida elects not to. Now, why do they not do this? Are they just being lazy because it's a noon game? We saw that Shamar James mentioned this noon game affected the players. It was an early morning game, as he had called it. In this case, no. Florida is ready for this play. Here is our strong safety, Miguel Mitchell. He's going to rotate down in the event of a screen here and fill this hole here. We're going to engage this to the outside as we should, funneling the receiver back to where there should be two tacklers, right? A 2-on-1 right here. Let's watch this develop. Here comes Shamar. Shamar's play side. He's got to close this, but here's your free tackler, line of scrimmage right here. Miguel Mitchell coming in. Excellent job here by Jason Marshall. Seal him off, turn him back to the inside. Now it's time to make a tackle by Miguel. This would be a 1-yard gain, half-yard gain perhaps, with Shamar there to help. If we make a tackle instead, Miguel comes in. We miss that tackle, and by the time we make the tackle, it goes for a first down. So again, you make the tackle there. That's maybe 1 yard or 1/2 yard. Instead, it winds up in a first down. Another significant gain after a missed tackle. Now, Florida's been tackling really well all year. Do I think that Florida all of a sudden is going to start a trend of missing tackles? No, I do not. But in this game, it obviously hurt them. 3rd and 5 now for Kentucky. Again, Florida really held Kentucky in check on 3rd down. This is going to be Kentucky's only 3rd down conversion of the entire game right here. Go route versus Florida's playing man, cover one man. Jaden Hill right here. We mentioned on the podcast that Jaden Hill was going to get tested in this game. Kentucky does have 3 true receivers that can cause problems for you, so he was going to match up typically versus a competent receiver. He's going to lose this battle here. The rest of Florida's man-to-man defense, though, is locked up really well. There was nowhere else to go with this, but you get a double-out concept here from Kentucky, and the primary read is going to be right here versus Jaden Hill. They thought that was the matchup. We open up right to it. Take a look, open up right to it. Knows he has man. Reading this window here, what's the matchup look like? Jaden at this point in time has already created too much separation between himself and the receiver. You can see this is much better here, right? If you're going to play off man, this is your sticks. You cannot allow yourself this much separation. As a quarterback, you know for sure your route is going to win. You're especially going to know it when you can see Jaden run off the screen here, as now essentially you are not defending anything, right? He knows this is comfortable, knows he has a clear out go route here, knows there's tons of green grass over here to put this ball. Leary puts the ball, not on the money, as he did not do for most of this game. Very inaccurate, but in a good enough place to move the sticks here and complete this first down. So for Jaden there, too soft on 3rd down and 5. Not good feet there in his back pedal. Too much cushion allows for the conversion and the first down there for Kentucky. 1st and 10 for Kentucky, and what you're going to see next is what probably was the theme of the game, according to this particular film review, based upon what we have seen, and that is the variety of counter runs that Kentucky was going to be very successful running versus Florida. Now, why run so many counters? Because Florida had proven to be very adept at stopping inside zone, outside zone. They're very, very quick to get down the line of scrimmage to where the play side is going. So why not fake where the play side is going and then see if Florida can react coming out the other way. Florida did not do a good job of this with these gap schemes. And here's a nice example. They're going to pull their guard. Their left side guard is going to come here. His job is to kick out whoever winds up being on the end for Florida at this point in time. That's going to be your kick out. Let's watch this in slow motion. Here it comes. And then we're going to come straight up here and get a block on your play side linebacker, which in this case is Shamar. Here's the design. We're going to try to wall this off in here. Double team right here on Chris McClellan, and then we're going to come up here. We're going to block Shamar. Scooby's your unblocked man. Scooby's got to make this play. Princely, they catch right here in a good look. Princely is bubbling out on this play. He's bubbling out to play pass. In reality, as soon as he recognizes this is a run right here, let's pause it. Now he needs to blow up this pulling guard. The best way to stop a counter run is to get penetration, obviously in the interior, but to not allow this guard to have a free run at you. As soon as you see this, you must strike this guard, blow him into the hole here as best you can so you can squeeze this, right? So we can squeeze it by putting pressure on him here, narrowing the gap they want to run through, or we can spill it, which we've seen before, but we're in no position to spill here. So you need Shamar to hit this block as hard as he can. You need Princely to make sure he squeezes this spot so this gap then shrinks, which then gives Florida time to get either a run that spills to the outside or they just stop the play right in here. Florida's going to go 0 for 2 on this. I'm going to roll it a little further. Princely, although he sees it right here, is going to bow up and try to get some engagement, but we're late to this party. And now the real issue here is the only person at this point in time that can make this play is going to be Scooby. We need the backside linebacker here to recognize this is a gap run. This is a gap run. We have protection right here on the weak side, right? This becomes the weak side. It becomes the backside. We have protection here on the backside. We're good. Scooby knows that. He has got to get himself into the gap where this gap is going to go. It's a one-way run, right? Gap runs are one-way runs. You know where the gap is. Read and react. Shamar's going to get engaged. We're going to get engaged here. Fly in here. And Scooby's slow to enter the hole. We saw this so often last year with all of Florida's linebackers struggling versus all run types. And here we see it again. We do not get into this hole in time. And we're going to come straight through the dream scenario for a running back here. Dream scenario right through the gap. Guard's going to kick out Princely. Princely cannot engage Shamar. Florida's best linebacker is also engaged. And Scooby, the unblocked man who's got to make this play, does not get there, does not touch him. Now we're off to the races. And we're going to go 30 more yards or so before Miguel Mitchell takes him down. You're going to see a lot of power concepts on this, whether it be a counter or other concepts, but Kentucky was very successful on this. And again, Florida with play call-wise, they catch Florida in a little bit of a weak call here because Princely's bubbling out and not staying along the edge. Had Princely been staying along the edge expecting run here, he's going to go ahead and engage this earlier, and this play gets spilled to the outside again, in which case both Shamar and Scooby can flow to the spill, right? However, with all that being said, Florida is in a fine look to control this run if we can get the backside linebacker into the gap. It did not happen. If we can get more of a squeeze in here, it did not happen. And Florida plays the price. So nice play call here by Kentucky at a spot in the field where on first down they like to take shots. That was threatening. Obviously, you're running the ball well. You're gonna be dangerous. Or they're gonna run play action, or they're gonna go for a deep shot at this part of the field, a popular spot to take a shot. Florida bets they might be passing here. Again, still brings 7 in the box. With all that being said, so numbers in the box. If you've been watching every single play, Florida's had 7 guys in the box on every single play versus the run they have one here. You've got to execute this better to stop this. We have an error and a mistake, bad run fit, and Ray Davis is good running backs do make you pay maximally for that. Second and goal here. Florida blew several assignments in this game, something we had not seen them do too often. They did it multiple times here. You're going to look at Scooby right here, pointing something out, not quite ready for the snap, and the snap does come. And again, Florida has plenty of numbers here, right? 2 receivers here. We've got 3 and then a 4th to flex in. Plenty of numbers. Numbers are not the issue. And in fact, Florida is expecting pass on this play. So play call, perfectly adequate, perfectly fine. We have numbers here. Execution is going to fail. We've got Princely who's going to come out here, bubbled off the flat route. And then we have Jason Marshall who's going to come over here. We're walling off this inside slant here. And Scooby effectively is guarding no one. That's a real problem, right? So again, right away on hike, Marshall is covering off in here. And this is kind of the disaster of this, is there's a million ways this play works for Kentucky. In fact, they could have run a very common flat corner combo. That's a walk-in touchdown. I don't know who Jason Marshall thinks he's passing this inside breaking route off to. Like, where are we going with this route? Like, there's no acknowledgement of that happening. He has no help over here. He just immediately is scraping over the top of this with no help. We run a little hitch to make this as easy as possible. Scooby now is not flowing at all, given that he has a defender right here in Miguel Mitchell who is behind him walling off any interior route, so he needs to be flowing with the quarterback's eyes. Quarterback's eyes are on this route immediately. Scooby's still putting his mouth guard in. By the time he puts his mouth guard in, we have a wide open, uncovered hitch route that's an absolute layup here for a touchdown, way overthrown. One more time. The reason it's overthrown is Caleb Banks gets in here and makes this play. So again, Florida's D-line has done a really, really good job consistently of putting their hands up in throwing lanes, something we did not see last year. And it looks like to me he actually may get a piece of this ball. Hard to tell. But regardless, this pass is saved by Banks. Blown assignment in here. Uncharacteristic for Florida. Everywhere else here is fine. We've got all the rest of these receivers walled off. We expected a pass. It's a perfectly adequate play design and poor execution. 3rd and goal now for Kentucky. Florida is going to blow an assignment here again. Pre-snap, 3rd and goal. Florida's going to look. They've been in a lot. This looks to be single high man. But it also could be a pattern matching zone or zone in general, right? Any of these concepts are perfectly fine. And then Florida is going to bring pressure. Also perfectly fine. Something we talked about Kentucky being susceptible to. So play design, totally fine. What's not fine is what happens here with Florida's engagement. The route combo here from Kentucky is nice. I've talked a lot about Florida's own route combos and how they leave a lot to be desired in my eyes. Here's a good example of a nice route combo and why this works. So the route combo we are getting here is going to be very, very simply a back. Let's call this a back dig / kind of like more like a corner route, but not really. So back of the end zone, right, out here. You're going to get an in route here, and then you're going to get what looks to be an in-breaking route that actually whips out here. Now, why do I like this? If Florida is playing what I believe they're playing here, which is zone, where they're going to pass off these routes, what you see from Kimber down here is Kimber's eyes are looking to the field of play, and he is reading what the number 2 receiver is doing. So if the number 2 receiver runs a corner route, he is going to pass off his under route by saying under. He's going to drop back to cover the corner route, while Jaden Hill is going to step up to cover the under route, right? And then Castell, in this case, if that's the case, he's going to stay here on the inside as well. Now, what should happen in this exact situation is we should have eyes across the formation. So he should be saying under, given the routes that Kentucky are running. Hill's eyes should be here and here. He's watching the release of the number 3 receiver on the inside because he knows that if he comes over the top of his head, he has to come back and grab that, right? He's going to come back and grab that and pass off his man if his man breaks to the inside. If all these guys simply were to run go routes like this, then you would just stay matched up on them, right? If they're all goes, we match up on them. If they move into someone else's zone, we switch off. We're switching off what happens. Kentucky's action here has Kimber essentially look to then pick up this corner route, except it's not where he's going. It's an in-breaking route, which then, as this route re-engages Kimber, pulls Kimber back down here. Meanwhile, Hill is basically playing man. And we can see from Castell's technique that he is just staring at the quarterback. He is playing zone. He's expecting to play the interior part of this zone, and then he flows with the quarterback correctly right to where he thinks this ball is going, this in-breaking route here, except it's going to a wide open back of the end zone throw here, where we get a gift as he fumbles the bag right in the back of the end zone, and Florida survives, only giving up a field goal. Now, regardless of who is right or wrong here, I cannot tell you for sure. I did not design the play myself, and I certainly cannot tell you who's supposed to be a man, who's supposed to be in the zone, or what the pattern matching rules are for Florida versus this particular set. I don't know that. What I do know for sure is somewhere along the lines, you need 3 guys right here working as a unit, as 3. That's not what happens. And one of them does something different, and the other 2 are doing something different. 2 do zone, 1 do man, 1 does zone, 2 do man. Whatever the case is, it's not going to work. And that's what happens here, but Florida dodges a bullet. After the Florida INT, Kentucky in business with 2nd and 4. Again, so far, if you're counting at home on these defensive plays, Florida has been in a good play design basically every single time. One particular play, Kentucky kind of caught them, but really not anything significant on this play. 2nd and 4. What do we get from Florida? Florida again playing aggressive. Florida right here, funneling this off, playing 4-by-3 over here and 3-by-2 over here, and they get a pass play on 2nd and 4. That's a win. Florida gambles on pass, they get pass, everything they want is here. We've got Scooby Williams one-on-one coming downhill versus Ray Davis. Scooby has been sensational at this all year long. You have seen it on this film review. Certainly a matchup Florida felt fine about. And let's play the tape. Where is Ray Davis? He's 5-6 yards behind the line of scrimmage. We've gotten pressure in the face of Leary. If Scooby makes this tackle like we've seen him do so many times, this ball is a loss of several yards. However, here, Ray Davis, who had a sensational game, plenty of credit to him for making this stuff happen, gives just a little bit of a hesitation move right here, just a tiny hesitation, which gets Scooby leaning to the inside. You've seen me talk countless times about how important it is that we get to the outside shoulder of these players, whether it's a quarterback or running back or receiver, and Florida largely has done that all year long. They don't do it here, and this is why you do not want to let this beat you to the outside, and beat is what he gets here. Fantastic move. Scooby does not even touch him. Then we're off to the races with another little inside hezzy move where you're going to get a whiff there by Miguel Mitchell. Coming down there, that's a whiff. And then we're going to carry Kimber, a guy we've talked about who obviously is giving his best effort at corner. A lot of times corners are not great tacklers. I'm not dogging Kimber here at all. But tackling Ray Davis hard enough for anyone. He goes along for a 5-yard ride, and that's going to be a touchdown, right? And early on, Kentucky, this is how every Kentucky fan feels this moment in time right here. Yep, pump it up, let's go. This guy's amped. Everyone's amped, right? Except for us as Florida fans, we're not amped. In fact, we're shocked. This is shocking because these are the same plays we've seen Florida shut down all year long. And again, a lot of credit goes to this guy, right? Ray Davis right here, perhaps a Gator killer, really shredded Florida. This play design, again, fine. We've got a guy in the backfield, one-on-one, one of our most athletic linebackers, one of our best tacklers for TFLs this season, with a chance to get another TFL. And instead, it turns into a tutty. Good play design, better play by Ray Davis. Then you've got backup defenders here, still bringing up 3rd down. Make the tackle here, Miguel. It's going to be 3rd down. Nope. Carried, touchdown. Coach's job is to put players in a position to succeed. The player's job is to win or lose the game. That's good football. All of us as fans should want our coaches to give our players a chance to win or lose the game. So far early in this game, on defense, Florida's players were not living up to what they had put on film in the previous games, and it was costing them dearly. 2nd and 10 now for Kentucky. This is a really nice play design by Coach Ham. Florida motioning over with Hill, showing Kentucky that they are in man defense, only to make a really nice robber exchange here. This is the stuff I love about Florida's defense on film, and one reason why I think, despite this game, I don't think it affects the ceiling level for Coach Ham at all. Florida will use this to improve on defense, no doubt, but this is the kind of stuff you love to see at the college level, especially this early in the season, especially after what Florida did last year, especially with how many new faces Florida plays across the back end. There's a true freshman safety. Jaden Hill didn't play a lot of nickel, playing nickel well this season. We're going to exchange this so that right away Leary opens up and thinks, okay, I've got man. He thinks Hill is coming all the way out here. He's got a corner who's basically in no man's land. So he's like, I'm golden. I mean, I've got a corner who cannot get to this route right here. This is a layup for me. It's easy money. I'm taking the 7-yard gain. Open up. He's not even looking. He doesn't even see Castell. Look at his eyes. He does not even see him at all. He's just thinking, I have this throw right here. Nice little hitch route. I'm taking it. And then Castell's coming downhill. Look at the timing by Castell. He's right there as the ball is about to make contact, right there. And that becomes an incomplete pass. Could have been a pick in a different world. That is a great play design there by Coach Ham. Resulted in incompletion. And it looks like Florida's defense perhaps gaining a little traction early in the game. 3rd and 10, we had talked about on the podcast that Kentucky had really struggled versus man defense, especially cover 2 man. It's exactly what Florida's going to come out here, cover 2 man. Love the play call, great play call, perfectly fine play design. Florida's going to basically bring a little twist in here. Watch Ray Davis, except we got a problem. That problem here on this play is the rather excellent Shamar James, who forgets he's playing man and thinks he's playing zone and thinks he's responsible for covering Ray Davis. So does everyone else, apparently. we're all going to cover Ray Davis. He's going to get 2 guys on him because we're not going to let 1 guy beat us, okay? Now, look, I kind of like this, right? Because we're not worried about Leary running right now. Number 1 is single-handedly beating us by himself. Let's take him out of the game, right? However, we can't have 3 people looking at Ray Davis. That's certainly 1 too many, especially when we're supposed to be in man. Man, safety, safety. They all stay in man. He's in man, back turn, running with man. Shamar not covering him. Not covering him at all. He is wide open. It's the exact throw he wants to have. Larry puts it behind him. Not a good ball, right behind him. Not a good ball. Still could have been caught. Kentucky with a very high drop rate this season. Florida dodges yet another bullet here on 3rd down. Play design, good. Play design is good, right? Now, Ham's still fired up. I like this about Coach Ham. Is he pissed off inside that Florida's blowing assignments? You better believe it. But he knows right now on the road in a noon game that he needs to give his team some juice because his team was precisely lacking juice. They're making mistakes and they are blowing things. Let's not go nuts on them just yet, right? But let's get excited that he came back, got the play, made it done, they dropped it. Let's get fired up. Let's get off the field and let's roll. I like that. He's trying to give a young team some juice. Again, internally, he's pissed. There's no doubt about it. This is not good defense. How are you continually blowing assignments? Play design, though, play call, excellent. Exactly what you want to be running versus this Kentucky team. Execution, very poor. Just when you think Florida's defense has gotten off the field and gotten a stop, we have deja vu for a road game, much like Utah, but in different fashion. Florida's going to get a true freshman here, rushing the wall, coming through. Everything here is fine. Just engage these guys. Put your hands up, right? He's going to jump. And that's going to cause this issue with the old jumping over the wall scenario. To make matters worse, Billy had mentioned that UF had sought clarification the week before on this rule because I think they themselves had potentially thought you could jump, and as long as you weren't jumping over, it was okay. They got clarification that was not what was going to happen, and that if you jumped into the wall, they were going to call this on you. And yet, Florida does it anyway. Now, obviously, if this had been the only issue Florida's special teams have had all year long, you might say it's a freshman making a freshman mistake. At this point in time, obviously, it is a horrific black eye on a face that has already had many black eyes this season with regards to special teams. And just like that, Florida's defense, which had a much-needed stop, sort of a gift stop there on 3rd down, is right back on the field. The very next play, disaster strikes, and I think really changes the tenor of this game overall. Of course, Florida was going to lose this game on this day with the way things are going, but Kentucky right away lines up. They're going to flip the side. All they're doing is flipping here the play, right, essentially. Now, this is a nice look. I like this call by Kentucky. I like it a lot. I think it's a great call. I think Florida's still there to make the stop, but I think it's a great call. Why is this a great call? Kentucky is running zone this direction. Florida, being the number 1 rushing defense, not anymore, obviously, on success rate, consistently stopping the run, is doing a great job of recognizing that these guys are trying to get to the right. And if they are, I'm going to beat them to that spot and bottle everything up in here. That's what we're doing. We're stuffing all this stuff up in here. We're going to spill this to the outside where we have help defenders, right? Look at the work here. Look at Kelby Collins come in here, right? We're going to fly in here. Like, all Florida's doing is trying to turn this away and stop the initial point of attack. Now, Kentucky knows they are not going to have success in all likelihood just running zone runs versus Florida. So they crafted up some very creative, simple but creative stuff to take advantage of Florida's ability to stop the run very well. So credit to them for doing this. And this time they're going to run a very simple backside run, right? If you're a linebacker, you're a lineman for sure. You're going to do all these things right. This play looks like it's going this way. I'm going to make sure I take this out. There's no counter step by Ray Davis. They're looking to hit either an inside zone here or come out this backside. Now watch the action that occurs. We're going to come down here, take out the backside now, or now the play side is what's going to become linebacker, and then come down here and take out the safety. But Florida accounts for this. Look, Florida is accounting for this look in case they want to come out the backside. Florida is here with yet another unblocked defender. In this case, it is Jason Marshall. So play design. Here we go. Play design. Are we okay? First of all, great play design by Kentucky, right? This is nice. Second, Florida's defensive line. Are they winning or losing this battle? This is a win. Big Dez is in the line of scrimmage, right? We've already pushed him back here. We've got all this muddled up. There's no way to go here. Linebacker waiting, linebacker ready. This interior zone is dead. If they want to run wide zone out here, that's also dead. But this play is an inside zone play for sure, and it is gone. There's nowhere to go with this inside zone, and we have stopped the initial gap. That is a win for the defense. And on top of that, we have a safety here, a linebacker here, and we have a backside defender waiting in case they try to escape out the edge. This is aggressive run defense. It's what's led Florida to be so successful. What then is the problem? And why does this look so bad? Well, one, we have a horrific angle taken by Jason Marshall, who must have decided pre-snap that he was going to make a sack, and this might be play action because he is flying way up the field. This is not his job, right? His job is to be the edge defender, is to fill this gap. He's got to play run first, pass second. This is not just a reckless corner blitz. Run first, pass second. As a run defender first, he wants to slide into here and make sure he controls the edge. Instead, he runs up the field far too much, and now we cannot even touch Ray Davis, who Ray immediately sees right now. Look at the jump cut in the air right here. He's totally in the air. Ray Davis in the air. He looks and sees he's got nothing. That play is completely dead. Not where I want to go, but we've got a backside block here. We're going for the home run. This is no doubt a home run call by Liam Cohen and Kentucky. They're going for it all right here. We're going to lock out Shamar, and now we're going to get a block here. And if we can hit the gap we want to hit, which is this one, we are off to the races. But again, Florida has accounted for that. All Jason Marshall needs to do, he doesn't even need to make the tackle. He just needs to not go so far upfield that he's somewhere in here. And if he does, this play looks very different. Instead, he outruns it. Now we're off to the races. We got a block in here, right? Shamar's erased. Block in here. We get an incredible hold right here on Scooby, which should be called. This play should have come back. I'm not going to cry about holding or officiating in this game. There were some calls that definitely went against Florida. Make no mistake about it. But on this particular film review, unblocked man's got to make the play. If you're a linebacker on your play side, you got to strike this block as much as you can to keep this at least here, no further. Don't let him push you back, right? Shamar does all he can there. Scooby, you're the free linebacker. You have to read now where this is going. You've got to haul a scrape across this formation and make this tackle. Scooby recognizes he's on the way to scrape across, and now we get held. I want you to focus for this portion right here. Watch what happens to Scooby. Held, still held all the way over to here. Held, and still being held. He's still being held right here. How is that not called? Well, perhaps because we're worried about this here. There are other officials that can see that, but that play has got to get called, right? It's got to get called. Scooby, in all likelihood, if he does not get held here, probably is able to at least flail an arm here to slow Ray down enough for Castell to be able to make a touch or tackle here. Instead, he's not. But again, the real issue here is Jason Marshall. Unblocked, unmanned, edge defender should slow this play down, in which case Florida's in much better shape, but Ray Davis hits the hole with full speed. Miguel Mitchell has a nice job. This is nice by Miguel. Pushing off the block he's engaging on, giving himself a chance to make the tackle. He doesn't, but it's a nice effort by Miguel. And then we're off to the races and nobody's catching Ray Davis. Touchdown. And just like that, Florida goes from down 10-0 after making a stop to down 17-0. On a play that is well designed by Kentucky, but that Florida's defense, again, execution-wise, play design-wise, is in the right place at the right time for this. I'm trying to make that point, right? Ham has got the boys in the right place. Everything is fine. There's a holding call that's missed, but Jason Marshall misses the play the most, and that's going to affect Florida, and it's going to significantly change this game in the early stages. But again, is this play call a bad play call? No, it is not. Great execution by Kentucky, not good execution by Florida. 16-0 now, Kentucky with the ball back. It's still early in the second quarter. An embarrassing look for Florida, and we're at it again, and we are going to see something all Florida fans have seen. I have done an in-depth film review on this in the past, and if you were guessing, you were about to see the old GT counter, the guard tackle counter, you are correct. All right, what is the goal of this play here? Guard's going to come and kick out whoever the edge defender is. Lead blocker is going to become your tackle. He's going to blow it out here. And the hope is with a counter step, we're going to counter step this way to get the defense moving and then attempt to hit this gap right here, which is exactly what Kentucky is going to get. Florida is attempting to counter here, counter the counter with a play that can work. There's several ways to attempt to stop this. As you heard me say earlier, the best thing you can do is disrupt this freight train that is building speed here. If we can hit them in here and mumble this up and slow that up, they can't get in there to create blocks, right? They can't get over here to create blocks. That's one way. Florida sends a B-gap blitz right here. It does not get enough penetration to deter what is happening. And then on the back end here, we're staying home on the edge. We now have this freight train building. Here's your freight train. They're coming through. Now, one thing Florida did a nice job of is, again, Florida has actually won the line of scrimmage here. Notice how we're having to work. The tackle's having to work to skinny himself to get through here. This is not a perfect-looking GT counter. However, linebacker play-wise, we got issues. Here's to Roger Mitchell, the Ohio State product, who's playing in this particular drive. Not seeing a lot of good stuff on him from film. We're not going to see anything good here. Right away, he needs to recognize this is a GT counter. He's played a lot of football. He's a veteran guy. What is your job as a linebacker on the counter? You have got to blow up the gap they are trying to hit, right? This is the gap they are trying to hit. They have a dream scenario as Jaden Hill's the nickel out here. He's not a big enough guy to take on a guard coming to blast him out. We need Mitchell to fly in here. It is not going to happen. Our run blitz did not work. We came flying in, did not disrupt this. You can see that he tries. We're trying to. We don't get home. Now, right now, everything looks fine. Sapp tries to recover and get in this gap here. As you can see, Sapp is doing a nice job. He actually pauses the play. So Sapp recovers this, stops everything. We're okay. Now, right now, we need Mitchell to come in here and blow up as much as he can blow up a guy much bigger than him. But he needs to strike this block. He must strike this block, and preferably he strikes this block right here as hard as he can, allowing the recovery defenders to get in here, right? Kick out here. You know you want this gap. You have to take away the gap they want and make them do something else. Minimize the damage on this play, right? Minimize the damage. And right here, what happens is instead, you get Mitchell waiting and dancing with him. He's not doing his job in run fit. He's not playing one-on-ones. It's not a one-on-one drill. You've got a lead block coming through. Get in here and muddy this up, right? Help Sapp muddy this up, end this play. Instead, we don't. Now we wait. We're dancing laterally. We've lost momentum. Here comes the tackle. Tackle's going to take Mitchell out. Now the gap that we wanted all along is finally here. It took a long time. It was a very slow building freight train, but it got there. And now that it's there, we're in trouble, because we're not going to catch Ray Davis with these guys until much, much later. So again, that play could have minimized the damage if Florida does the right thing. Florida does not do the right thing there. Look, teams are going to gain yards against you, right? I mean, you're going to run a GT counter, you're going to get some yards. You're going to run a tackle counter, you're going to get some yards. You're going to run power, you're going to get some yards. You can't stop teams from getting yards. The story of Florida thus far has been missed tackles, poor execution, this case, bad run fit. And if you do that enough times, instead of Kentucky rushing for, let's say, 140 yards, which would have been no big deal, a regular game total, they rushed for over 300 yards. That's the difference between a good game and a really bad game. It's not much, at least on film, right? As you're seeing here, it's not like an egregious error. It's not like Florida's not having guys in the box. They are. The issues come, obviously, with the run fit. And one more time, numbers in the box, counting at home, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 guys in the box for Florida, right? That is not an undermanned box. But Kentucky wins. This will be the first play on film that we've seen where Florida indeed has a light box. 6 here, 8 here for Kentucky. Now we saw Florida handle this versus Tennessee. We're in the second quarter here. Florida has not been handling Kentucky's run, and they're going to get caught again with a counterplay. We're going to see all sorts of counterplays here. Here comes your tight end or your F player. He's going to fake this and then come here. So essentially, he'll become the first player to kick out. Same role as we saw earlier with the GT counter. Always the rules are the same. And then this guard is going to come through here and then try to be the lead blocker. Now you're going to see Florida do something different this time that is better. First off here, we're going to get into where we want to get into and actually engage the lead blocker behind the line of scrimmage. That's a win. Problem here is we've lost at the point of attack. So Caleb Banks, who's been great for Florida, right here loses at the point of attack. Very important spot here for your tackle to win this. He gets pushed into the center, which is the goal of the offensive line. If they can push him into the center here, they're going to win this play. They get a win there. They get a neutral to loss here. They get a win out here on the kick out with a hold, and then Taraji Mitchell is going to come in and attempt to play the gap that they want to hit, which is, in fact, ideally this gap as we've seen here. And then he's going to this time try to fill the hole faster, which he does. But because Caleb Banks lost at the point of attack here, their right tackle is able to just get a quick double here and then move on to Mitchell here because Florida's light in the box. Here's your 7th player. And now because of that, he's able to reroute Mitchell out of the gap. And now what was going to be the hole here just becomes one step more inside, right? So instead of taking the C gap, they'll hit the B gap basically, and there's no one there to even slow him down for a second because we can see Caleb is occupied here. We're locked up here. We are in trouble. Here comes Castell. He was actually coming downhill here to fill. This is not ideal. It's a nice design by Kentucky, and again, you better believe Florida's going to spend a ton of time practicing running counter defense this week. They obviously struggled mightily versus Kentucky, as you're seeing here. And then as we continue to see the safeties, whether it be Castell here, or in this case, Miguel Mitchell here, or Moten, as we'll see later, none of them are tackling Ray Davis in the open. Little move here, shake and bake, doesn't even touch him, doesn't slow him down. Castell comes from behind the play to eventually make this tackle. And again, a very simple tight end and guard draw, winds up being a huge gain for Kentucky. Look, counter plays can work. We've seen this before, right? They're really nice plays because they're safe, and when they hit big time. And they were hitting big time for Kentucky, despite the fact that Kentucky wasn't necessarily running the ball all that well leading into this game. They ran the ball fine. They were averaging 5.5, 6 yards per carry in some of those ball games against inferior opponents, and again, generally not for the consistent chunk yardage we saw versus Florida. This is the first play where Florida had a lighter box. Obviously an issue there. Kentucky takes advantage of it, wins a few one-on-ones, and then has a nice successful play. If this were one of 2 or 3 plays in the entire game that looked like this, you live with it. That's what Kentucky's good at. They passed not well in this game. You still win the football game, but you can't just have one after the other for a variety of different reasons. But regardless, the result is the same, a big gain for Kentucky. Here's a good look at Coach Ham, who obviously is not having a good day given what's going on here. A lot of this, play calls are fine, execution not fine. You're going to see an example of that here again on this particular play. All right, Kentucky going to run a run fake here with an orbit motion, basically reverse handoff here to a wide receiver. Florida is fine on this. In fact, they should definitely have this play stopped, but we struggle with our spacing on the read. Here's Princely, who's done a great job setting the edge all year long. We haven't had to talk about Florida not setting the edge well. Kentucky running split zone here, zone blocking coming this way. Don't worry about how bad that looks. And then your tight end coming here. We see Florida run split zone a lot in our offensive breakdowns. And right now, Princely is going to get stuck watching the backfield, which is fine. You got to watch the exchange. But Princely's never going to be stopping a play over here. So his job is to just stay home in case this player, which he should be seeing with his vision here, is coming out to his side. He should be getting ready to widen out, but he is not. He continues to shuffle to the inside. Look at his positioning here. Shuffles to the inside, and now is going to launch in this direction rather than this direction. This guy's got a full head of steam coming downhill. Mitchell does the same exact thing. And again, here's Taraji Mitchell, same thing. He's watching the backfield. Once he sees this guy get the ball, he needs to immediately widen out. He's too far up the field. The same problem's going to occur. Now we have 2 guys in the same spot, just like we see on offense sometimes. Not what you want to have on defense either. And they're both going to be chasing, and no one's going to get there. Lead blocker all the way out here does not make contact. There's your H-back right there. Not making contact until he hits the safety a good 15, 20 yards down the field. So another very successful run by Kentucky, a different concept. They're putting a running game on display, much to why Billy talked about this game hurting him more than others. Essentially, they're running a lot of plays Billy would love to run. Now, Florida doesn't run quite as much counter power game as Kentucky did in this game. However, Kentucky, very similar offensively when it comes to running. They'll mix in wide zone, inside zone. They're running a lot of power as well as counter in this particular game. And it worked for them, especially getting their ball carriers through those outside gaps, C gap or the outside. So here's another big hitter for Kentucky, just having their way with Florida in the first half. 2nd and 13 after a successful run stop by Florida. Florida now 6 in the box again on 2nd and 13. 6 in the box again, thinking, again, it's still early in this football game. Hey, we have the number 1 rushing defense. We're going to wake up. We're going to start stopping them. And Kentucky is going to display another run for us to view and enjoy here. This time it's going to be a trap. So from a power here, we're going to pull our guard across. We're going to leave our end here unblocked. So he thinks he's free. He's like, I'm free. I'm about to murder this play. And then right under his chin comes the trap. It's a trap. Star Wars fame there. Boom. He's gone, right? So what do? We're going to leave him, get here, block, block, block. Now again, these are old school run plays, right? They work well for a reason, and here we go. You've seen this in motion, block, 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 free man here. We're going to kick him out on the end. right here, kick him out in the end. Boom, he can't get there. Now we've got a sweet, huge hole. They catch Florida thinking they're getting past. Instead, they get run. We need a hero play, one-on-one here by a D tackle, and we're trying to get it, and we don't get it. And this is where you have to give, again, Ray Davis a lot of credit. His decisiveness when he's in the hole, his ability to quickly decide what the best run is, and then to exit as fast as possible is what makes him a dangerous runner. A lot of running backs right here might get stuck for a second. They might choose this hole where he's going to get eaten up, right? Or they might delay long enough that we're able to get back and do something about this. But not Ray, not on this day. He immediately diagnoses where to go, and now he's through the hole. And once he's through the hole, he's gaining all the extra yards he possibly can. 2nd and 13 on a simple trap play becomes a first down. 1st and goal, Kentucky signaling to the world they're most likely going to run the football. Florida prepared for this. Completely loaded box here. Man-to-man here. They're expecting run. We're playing run. Who's going to win? Right away, you know who's going to lose. Unfortunately, on this play, Manny Nunnery right here is about to just get trashed to the ground. He's gone. You can see him getting buried. He's completely gone. And then Kelby Collins, Florida's true freshman, has been popping really well on film. Is going to pop here again. He is going to win significantly and throw his man completely off of him. Gone. You can see he's gone. Now he's the one who can make the play. Unfortunately, no one else has pulled off what Kelby Collins has pulled off here, and Ray Davis engages him at about the 2-yard line. Ray with a head of steam. Kelby with no steam. He's standing still. He's still able to hold him up here and hold his ground at the point of attack. That shows a lot of strength. That's extremely promising for a freshman. Unfortunately, Scooby's out of the play. Now we're going to try to help out here, and really we're just not going to get the job done. Ray finds his way bouncing into the end zone. Touchdown, Kentucky, and the route is on. 2nd and 8 here for Florida. We've talked about Jason Marshall in the film review this year. At times, he puts nice stuff on film. At other times, especially in zone, I don't really understand the lack of quality technique from him. And let's watch exactly what happens here. Is he's going to show that he's in press man. He's going to be bailing into a cover 3 technique. Florida's playing cover 3 here. And look at what happens here. He takes a look at the quarterback, and while doing that, he then turns all the way around, losing the hitch route. He's fading away, turning around on the hitch route, and now this is an absolute layup, and 2nd and 8 becomes a first down, right? One more time. Here, peeks, and then loses control of where the route is. You can't play defense looking this way. You can't play defense looking this way when the receiver is this way. He is completely at your mercy. Easy throw, layup, first down. Best thing about football is you get another play. Here's Jason Marshall again. And look, you got to take the good with the bad, right? Not every play is going to be great. One of the hard things about college football is, you have to kind of win every game for it to be deemed a successful season if you're an elite team. In the NFL, you can be elite and get smacked one week and come back the next week and win, and you're fine, right? You're going to take losses. That's expected. In college, obviously, a different story. Lots of talent disparities and other things that go into that. But regardless, individually in games, you should expect to see variation between players, right? They're humans and not robots, and you're also going to see variation depending on what they do well. Here's Jason Marshall doing what he's more comfortable with, which is playing press man, and this is going to be excellent technique right here by him, right? He's willing in this situation here. We're lined up on the numbers, so you know from watching before that Marshall will allow him to go here and stay inside, use the sideline as a defender, inside leverage. And you're going to see we step. He gets inside of him, which is what the receiver wants, ideally. Opens up inside, but Marshall stays on top of the route. Now we're in close proximity. This is what on top of the route really means here, is if he breaks in, Marshall should be able to break in with him. And if he tries to break out here, Marshall should be able to use his arm here as he steers him around the outside. And that's exactly what happens as he attempts to run this RPO slant. Fake right here. RPO, fake the run, suck all the linebackers up, run a slant route here. Marshall's all over this, and that is not a completion. Right? That's excellent coverage by Marshall. He's by himself on an island. They're running an RPO. They've been gashing Florida, and Florida's pass defense holds up right here. 3rd and 9 for Kentucky. Again, unbelievable, right? 15th in FBS and just yards per game allowed on the ground, but number 1, as we've already seen earlier, in success rate. So shocking day, very great day if you're a Kentucky fan, terrible day if you're a Florida fan or Coach Ham. All right, here's Jason Marshall again, the Jason Marshall Show, playing phenomenal cover 2 zone. So we saw the cover 3 technique was not good. Now in cover 2, he's going to be responsible for really this portion of the field. He's going to carry this route until it gets right around here. He's going to pass that off to the safety. And he can now do what he does, which he opens up this way because he can ride this route until he decides to pass this off to the safety. And he's eyeing the number 2 receiver right here in case he runs an out into his zone because, again, he's playing cover 2, 2 safeties high. Then you have your 2 corners down low playing aggressive on hitches, on out routes, on a route that Kentucky runs right here. And Leary's going to play right into it. Marshall IDing the number 2 receivers coming into his window, looking at the quarterback, saying it's my time to go. Shoot downhill, be aggressive, don't wait, trust your read. He does. Now he is playing receiver, right? He is playing receiver. The receiver is just watching. He's like chilling. He's got his popcorn. He's like, this is it. Here's my popcorn. I can't really make this work on this. There you go. He's got his popcorn ready. That's terrible popcorn. Disregard that. But either way, he's watching it, and he's ready for this pick 6 to occur so Florida can get on the board and make this maybe a game. Marshall's got the hands up. He's ready for it, and unfortunately, it just goes right through his hands, hits him right in the chest, and that is what a missed opportunity looks like. Excellent defense, though, by Florida. Great play design by Coach Ham, and great execution. Unfortunately, a pick 6 results in just a simple incompletion, but another nice job there by Jason Marshall. So he's 2 for 3 on this little mini sequence of the film. And again, in cover 2 technique there, really good job in zone. All right, 2nd and 7. Now, second half, Liam Cohen was dialing it up. He was with Kentucky before with the Rams. Not a great stint with the Rams, so he came back to college, but he was on fire today. And if you've seen the first half, which all of us have, and you're the coordinators, then you know that Florida has to come out and find a way to stop the counter. He knows Coach Ham has got to stop the counter run. So what are we going to do? We're going to run a counter. Take a step here, and we're going this way. We're definitely going to run this play, and here it is, counter. And look, Florida's ready for this, right? Not anymore. We're going to come down here. We got 2 filling the gap here. Now, the reality is, if you're Scooby, you still have to read this play. You can't just blindly sell out. You have to read this fake still, but he doesn't want to get beat up by Coach when Coach is saying, look, you got to get in this gap. You got to get in this hole. I'm going to get down here. And because he takes so many steps over here, this play fake works. Now, if you're running the ball really, really well, this is how a passing offense that's not very good, at least in this game, can work very well. It's also one of the problems with Billy's offense. It's heavily reliant on running the ball very well to where you can use your play fakes to create easy short passes like this one and gain some yards. Letting the play out, immediately a huge win here from Jaden Hill, and we are in position to make this tackle. Really nice work by Jaden Hill. Immediately recognizes the play, and he is here. He's here. He oversteps a touch, but that's okay because as we've seen on film, really the entirety of this season, his job is to put this ball carrier here where we should have help either from a D lineman or in this case, let's go rewind this here. In this case here, our backside linebacker, right? Who's going to read this play, and rather than be way over here right now, if he read it better, he's immediately coming over here, and instead the ball is thrown and caught. He's still looking at Ray. So now we do not have what's now a backside, now a play side linebacker because the play is coming here. We don't have one. So if he was there, right, if Scooby's here, he's right there. This is a tackle right there. So again, play design here is fine, but Kentucky, nice play design there by them to recognize Florida's got to sell out to stop the counter. They're probably going to load the box, which they just did. They're going to bring guys into those gaps. They're going to make sure they stop the gap running. And then there you go. Now, obviously, when I'm saying power, I'm just talking about gap runs in general, right? A counter run and a power run are different things, but in general, a gap run versus a zone run. And there Kentucky gets it done. 1st and 10, always a good reminder for I do not know what the defensive play calls are. I can only guess as to what they may be. So when I'm talking about players doing something, it could be wrong because I don't know for sure. You're making a best guess. But Kentucky checks here, and they wisely check because Florida has 6 men in the box. And they're like, no way this is happening again. It's been happening more frequently. We started off the film review saying Florida did not play a light box early on. They're playing some now. They're playing some light boxes now, largely because the more aggressive we were early on, we were getting creased for huge runs. So now we have 2 safeties, hoping our safeties can come down and minimize the damage. We're basically acknowledging that on this day, we're not going to be able to stop you with our preferred aggressive method, which is the optimal way. We're going to try a suboptimal way and have our safeties come down and make tackles so you only gain 4 yards or so, and we put you in 3rd down. This is a fine tactic if your optimal tactic is not working. You've got to try something else. So if you're freaking out saying, why is the box light? That's why. And you're going to see exactly what happens here. And of course, right away, what do we see? By now, you all are experts at recognizing counterplays. And here comes a guard, and then there comes your H-back, right? We already know the rules here. Kick out, come through here. Everyone knows Scooby, which is what I'm saying here, is coming straight through to the B gap on what I'm going to guess is a run blitz. Because otherwise, he's lost his mind, and what he's doing is clearly not right, considering he needs to be over here. I don't know that for sure, but again, I can't imagine why he would just be taking this B gap unless we're run blitzing into that area, which means this is the perfect play call by Kentucky. If we're run blitzing to this side and they run a counter to this side, then they have absolutely won. If Scooby on his own decided that he read this counter step right here and then he was going and he was going to keep on going, then that would be a fail by Scooby, right? And here's Shamar trying to shed a block here, makes a juke, tries to get around and can't. All this to say, look, at the end of the day, if you make a tackle right here, 4.5, 5 yards, it's not a remarkable play. It's a good play. Nice design by Kentucky. They got us. They caught me in a bad run call. But at the end of the day, you have your safety flying downhill to make this stop. I mean, he's right here. He's right here. Make a tackle, slow him down, and really, you live to fight another day. This is now R.J. Moten. Ray Davis could put a poster up of basically all of Florida's defenders in the secondary because he beats all of them at one point in time or another. And here's another one, what seems to be a pretty simple inside step. He's gone, barely even slowed down, and now we're off to the races. Again, when you're coming downhill as a safety, you cannot barely slow down the running back when it's you versus him in a tight hole here. This is squeezed pretty well. There's not a lot of space for him to make a move here. Whiff mode, we're off and running way down the field. So again, the pain continues here for Florida. On a day like today, Florida, even when they did something right, couldn't do something right. Man defense, cover zero. Florida playing aggressively. We've seen it all year. It's been very successful for them. It's successful here again. Here we have Jason Marshall locked up in good defense. Everything here is square. Slight disadvantage here off the line of scrimmage, but that's okay. You'll live with that. Jaden Hill, nice job to close this motion all the way across the field. Leary, who has not been accurate, is going to sail a pass way above the head of the intended receiver. And right here, Marshall, at this point in time on 3rd and 3, you're in slight trail, but he kind of loses control of where the ball is. He has to slow up because this ball's above his head and coming slower, which causes Marshall, unfortunately, to kind of hook him just a little bit. I mean, really ever so slightly a hook here, but it looks bad in real time. He throws his hands up wisely. Good job if you're a wide receiver. Always make it look like you're getting interfered with when it's questionable, right? Get the call, and then there you go. To me, that ball's uncatchable. Probably shouldn't be called at all. Not a catchable pass, but more importantly, if you're Marshall, you're close enough here that you do not want to pass interfere, right? Take your chances with this. This is a tight enough window. Just take your chances that a college quarterback is not going to put a perfect ball on this guy and live to fight another day. Unfortunately, we do not live to fight another day. Kentucky does as they get a new set of downs. If you can't get stops trying a variety of different fronts, trying run blitzes, trying 2 deep, 1 deep, man, zone, spill, squeeze, all the techniques possible to you. You know what you can try is you can try putting 13 players out there. Hats off to Florida's creativity here. 13 players are out here. We still got a lot of pointing. Hey, man, we got a lot of guys out here, but like, what do you want to do? I don't know. I'm going to go here maybe. I might go here. I'm running over here. Man, it seems like we got a lot of dudes out here. We're definitely going to stop this play. Inside penetration right here is pretty awesome. We're good. We got unblocked guys coming in here. Look at this. We're unblocked. Literally by ourselves. Nope, Scooby. That's not going to happen there either. And there we go. Ray Davis finds the end zone with 13 players. Look, this is going to be an all-time game for Kentucky. That's the reality, and they earned it. They earned the right for the rest of their lives to talk about the day that Ray Davis ran all over Florida, and they had their way with Florida's defense because they shockingly did. This was the matchup, I think, that was going to decide the game, Florida's defense versus Kentucky's offense, and it did decide the game because on Florida's offense, we knew we weren't going to get a whole lot. But on Florida's defense, you expected they might have been able to really hold Kentucky to 10 to 17 points. That did not happen as Kentucky goes in early in the third quarter to go up 30 to 7. A remarkable and stunning score. Finally, a 3rd and 9. First third down we've seen in a while from Kentucky. Florida had obviously a lot of success on 3rd down, and Florida going to line up here. And man, this is where Florida is successful. Largely, they've stopped teams running the football. They put them in 3rd down, and had they been able to do that versus Kentucky, the result may have been different. We also talked about leading into this game that Florida would have been successful, stunting, twisting, running simulated pressures, and basically confusing an offensive line for Kentucky that I think is going to struggle this year, picking up pressures and even picking up simulated pressures. And you see it right here. Florida gets home with a free rusher almost immediately and a second one right behind him in the form of Wingo and Shamar. Hands in his face here, hands in his gap here. And Leary's going to deliver, I think, probably probably his best ball of the day. Although it's not perfectly thrown out here, given the fact that he's got traffic right in his face on 3rd down and 9 versus man coverage on time, he puts a catchable ball right into the chest of his receiver to make the conversion, and he drops this football. So for Larry there, that's a good ball. You've got to help him as a receiver for Florida. And if you're Kimber has nice coverage here. I mean, he's on top of this route. This is just a quality route right here at the end, right? Florida bringing heat right at the end. He's going to swing back and create just enough separation. You can see that Kimber opens up and turns with him to stay on top of the route. He's just slightly in trail. The ball gets there in a hurry. He can almost make a play on it. That's quality coverage. And ultimately, his tight coverage and the pressure is what allowed this to be incomplete. But Leary almost snuck that one in there. But Florida gets a stop on 3rd. Another 3rd down here. Florida trying to get a stop, trying to stay in the game at this point in time. They had chances to make it a game. The game was hanging. Florida only down 2 scores, a 2-0 lead, the most dangerous lead in most sports due to momentum. So they're not out of it yet. A big stop here could lead the way. And a nice play call. Look, corner blitzes are dangerous in these situations. We've seen them backfire for Florida. Leary opens up right away and reads Florida's freshman, Jakeem Jackson, coming in a blitz. But this is what Florida does well, is this is good coaching, right? He knows that if he reads hot, there's no one here to stop this because the safety is going to get on top of this route over here. So Florida is hoping pre-snap that they do not go to this route right away, right? That's what they're hoping. They're trying to bait the throw here. And if you look at this, pre-snap as a quarterback, this looks pretty enticing right here. You got a lot of space. You're only going 4 yards. I like this look here. And in fact, that would have been, in my opinion, the better look, right? Florida, I think, is playing pretty recklessly here. They get caught with a million routes that can be open. If Leary calls hot to any one of these routes, they're absolutely all wide open. But he chooses the one that's going to be the most difficult, in large part because Jakeem Jackson does the right thing and recognizes he's not going to get there. They're running quick game. I need to get as big as I possibly can and make this throwing lane as difficult as possible to get into, which is what he does. He deflects this pass on what was otherwise going to be an easy pickup on both sides. Now, Florida are putting this kind of pass defense on film frequently. This, to me, would be very, very troubling, as this is a very, very bad look with all the space that you see here. It's way too much grass, easy throw, could be an easy throw, could be an easy throw. Now, Kentucky's not running great routes down here. They're actually running verticals. But regardless, again, better teams right here will see this. They can call hot on this. Either way, he can open up, quickly take a look, and you can have a route right here if you want it. But I digress. Florida gets off the field. Jakeem Jackson making a nice recognition of himself not being able to get there in the quick game and batting the ball down. 4th quarter now, 2nd and 5 for Kentucky. We're going to see a similar concept we saw earlier. If you're thinking they're going to run something to the backside here, you would be correct. That's exactly what they're going to run, although it's no longer the backside because they flipped it. This is now the strong side, right? Strong side here. They flipped this to the strong side. Florida is not going to be well suited for this play, despite the fact that Florida has, as you're counting, 8 guys in the box. And this is going to be the reason why. You have to win at the point of attack, right? Versus any running scheme, you must win at the point of attack. And right here, this double team is going to blow Cersei out of the gap. And now we've lost, despite the fact that we have good penetration. Here, good penetration. We've seen with Florida in the past, the double team player is held up. And largely today, we've seen the double team player actually hold up, which is important. If Cersei holds up like normal, now we're in good shape. Why? Because we're going to have a linebacker and a linebacker here that are largely free. Instead, because he's blown out, he can now work to the second level, which is what he does. And now that leaves just Scooby here. And I'm showing you this play because, again, despite the fact this is a really nice window for them to run, Scooby just makes a tackle here, and it's a 2-yard gain, and we're not talking about this. It's 3rd down and 3 again. Instead, we miss another tackle. Ray Davis goes out and gets a 1st down. So football's largely about blocking and tackling. That's kind of the old school phrase, although modern football involves, I think, a lot more than just that. If you do not block and you do not tackle well, you will have a hard time winning. 3rd and 7 now for Kentucky. The game seemingly over. Florida still with a breath of hope here, defending on their own 30-yard line. 7 men in the box. Florida weary, of course, of the run in this stage, as they should be. Really hoping Kentucky just throws the ball here. And Manny Nunnery is going to make a fantastic play. Immediately reads it's going to be a screenplay. Going to come down here. You know from watching the channel, you want to stay outside of this block. And now, as we see on film, something we've seen every other game but this one, you have also appropriate reading here. And Florida now has what they want, which is 2 defenders here And then Nunnery is going to take care of this all by himself with a hero tackle. Look at this. Talk about a shoestring tackle, right? Nunnery evades the block, gets low, aims for this point, comes down, wraps around, one hand on the arm, one hand on the shoe, finish the tackle there, and then puts him on the ground with a little bit of help there at the end from Shamar. So 3rd and 7, Florida gets off the field again. Nice play by Nunnery. All right, last play I'm going to show you, and then the beating will be done. Your homework will be finished. You'll see why Florida took an L on defense on this day. But again, I don't suspect that Coach Ham is going to take more L's than W's in his career on the defensive side of the ball. But this is a nice snapshot of why Kentucky was successful. Florida, again, really, really good, almost too good, now as they've learned, at quickly jumping into these zone rushing lanes. When they read zone, they read the offensive line going this way, they know they want to get in front of them and stop that momentum and bottle up the play. That's largely why Florida stopped Tennessee so easily. It's why they did such a good job. Kentucky knew this, so they kept giving them window dressing, saying, let's move all of you this way, because in reality, here comes our favorite, the guard tackle counter again. And if you get these guys all out of the play, then we have exactly what we want. This slow-moving freight train encounters no resistance. This time we have Jaden Hill coming off the edge, which is great, except for when it's a counterplay because he's a small guy versus a big dude. Now, ideally, I think what you want Jaden to do here is you want Jaden to just cut this. You want him to go low and just take this dude out, right? Create traffic in here. Just blast this dude. I know you're smaller, so go lower at him. Take him out as much as you can here. Instead, when you engage wide like this, all you're really doing is allowing him to kick out. That's his job. Don't let the offense do what they want to do, which is kick you out. So you've just made yourself kicked out of the play. That's not going to work. And now because of that, the slow-moving freight train has worked very nicely, right? Here comes your edge blocker, your tight end. He's going to get locked up on Mitchell, Siraj and Mitchell. Shamar's going to come downhill, and he's going to get engaged by, surprise, surprise, the tackle. Here he comes, big tackle versus a linebacker. Hard to win that battle. This point in time, you got two linebackers in the same exact line for their gap. Also not ideal, not what you want. They're in the same spot. Shamar recognizes he needs to get back inside. He tries to make a move here to do that. He cannot. And we're off to the races once again, where Jason Marshall can't get him. And out we go. And that is not Ray Davis. So Kentucky just flexing their muscles at the end of the game. Really, I think kind of, if you're really a fan of football, just showing emphatically that we dominated you on offense. And at the end of the game, when the game is over, we're going to throw another guard tackle counter at you because we know you're watching film as a staff, and we know how much it's going to irk you that we destroyed you with these gap runs during this game so frequently. First quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. And we want that to irk you. So Florida, Kentucky, an afterthought for most of us Florida fans for most of our career. Certainly not anymore, as Kentucky wins their third in a row. And obviously now, to the victor, go the spoils. As far as what this means for the defense moving forward, I think it's simply a bad performance from a defense that's still playing a lot of young guys. A coordinator who I think is really good, and I think his opening play script was solid. A lot of poor execution and missed tackles that gave Kentucky confidence, let them play with a lead, and made them feel rather invincible. And that is the importance, of course, of coming out and making tackles, especially when you have opportunities, which Florida has done. So far for this season, this game is an outlier in the wrong way for Florida's defense. If, of course, that were to continue, then perhaps the early performances Florida has shown were actually not real. Again, I don't think that's true. We move past this game. I think Florida's defense is going to continue to be an excellent defense for most of this season. They will have some ups and downs, as any young unit will with a new coordinator, but I largely expect Coach Ham's defense to continue to be the most consistent unit on this team. Bad day at the office here, one that they're going to want to remember so they can use it to improve for the future. I hope you like this content. As always, I'm James from the Gator Nation Football Podcast. I'll be with you next week after the Vanderbilt game. Until then, go Gators.